guys, welcome to part 4 of the Pure OCD series. I'm gonna apologise in advance for stumbling over my words, looking a bit blank at times. It's been kind of a bad few days, so I've had sort of quite bad anxiety for the past week or so. Comes and goes, very restless at night till probably like 3 in the morning, and then I want to sort of sleep all the next day, waking up feeling down in mood. So if I just look derpy at times, then that's why. So today I'm going to be talking to you about health OCD, sometimes called health anxiety, which is one of the main themes that occur within Pure OCD, and it's one that's pretty much been present for me like all through my teenage years into adulthood, and still now most days, to be honest. So it started with a bad bout of gastroenteritis. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's basically diarrhea and sickness extreme form, which is awful. It's the worst thing I've ever had. Touch wood, I'm touching my wooden bed frame, that I never get this again, because it pretty much, that's what started all this. It scarred me for life. So after I had this, I developed emetophobia, which is like an extreme fear of vomiting. This took over probably most of my teenage life, and it's what I thought about all day, every day afterwards. I was so scared of getting that poorly and being sick again, and just the sensation of being sick. I just developed this massive fear around it, and I would, get invited places as a teenager to meet new people, to go to gigs, holidays, that kind of stuff. And there were times when I backed out last minute because I was so convinced that something would happen and I'd vomit while I was there. And it was the fear of being in a place that I wasn't sure of, like an unknown place, and that happening, or being sort of without my parents and that happening. And so I would back out, and then afterwards sort of be fine all night, which was pretty frustrating because I was meant to go and watch Hadouken, if anyone remembers them, and basically missed out on that. Never got to see them again after that. I didn't dare eat in like restaurants or have takeaways like cheeky McDonald's or whatever, like most people have as a teenager, because I was really scared that I'd get food poisoning and end up vomiting like last time. It sort of got to the point where I wouldn't eat much in the daytime at all, because my thought process was, if I don't eat much, and especially in the evening time, if I don't eat much, my stomach will be empty. So if I did have a bug or was going to be sick, there'd be nothing to vomit up. So I wouldn't have the sensation of it sort of coming up and out. So, I started pushing my dinner away every night. Dinner, tea, whatever you call it, depends where you're from. I'm referring to like 5 p.m. meal. I call it tea. A lot of people around me call it dinner. So for the sake of this video, dinner. So my mum would make that every night, and I'd sort of push it away, and there'd be nothing wrong with it, and she sort of didn't understand why I was pushing it away. But yeah, I thought if I don't eat that, and then I'm gonna be sick in the night, it's not possible to really sick anything up because my stomach will be empty. I got into the cycle of waking up at like 2 a.m. every night feeling like I was going to be sick. That's something that, if this sort of phobia spikes up quite a lot now, it's normally like late at night that I feel it, or if I wake up in the middle of the night. I've always had the fear around being sick, has always been worse at night time. I don't know what it is. I sort of think if it happens when I'm supposed to be asleep, that's worse than it happening when I'm awake, because at least if I started vomiting in the daytime, for example, I could watch film or watch TV and everyone else is up around me and I'm supposed to be up. Whereas in the night, everyone's asleep and I guess it just feels more lonely maybe. I don't know. If anyone's got an explanation for that, let me know, because I don't understand it fully anyway. So I was so terrified of being sick when I would wake up in the night that I would go and wake my parents up. So I'd like knock on their bedroom door, wake them up to tell them that I felt sick, because I wanted them to sit with me, because I genuinely felt like I was going to be sick. Because you probably know yourself, if you used to sit there and think all the time like, I feel sick, you will feel actually sick to your stomach. So it felt very real for me, and at that age and not being diagnosed with any form of OCD then, I just genuinely thought I was going to be sick or felt sick, because how was I supposed to know the difference of when it was in my thoughts and when it's a genuine bug or whatever? Which obviously it took a massive toll on my relationship with my parents, made us fight a lot, because obviously they were getting woken up in the night and they worked and they didn't understand what was wrong, and I sort of started behaving badly because of this. Like, basically I did turn into a little shit for a bit, missed like the whole of year 9 at school, was always off school, and they sort of found it hard to control that, but it was because I was frustrated because no one sort of believed what I was going through, or they didn't understand it. And I think when I was a child, I think we've come a long way in terms of mental health since then, because I don't think anyone understood mental health since then, unless they just didn't expect me to have an issue that young. I'm not sure, but we've definitely come a long way in terms of that. So we ended up going to like family counselling to like try and fix my bad behaviours, instead of the counsellors didn't recognise that I had this phobia and anxiety. So instead of treating that, it didn't, nothing got treated at all. It just felt like a sort of slanging match towards me and how much trouble I'm causing the family, really, which was kind of sucky. I ended up living at Sophie's house quite a few times during this period, because me and my parents were just fighting so much. So Sophie's mum sort of took me under her wing, which I massively appreciate that. And, you know, I'm kind of glad that happened, because the times that I had whilst living at Sophie's house, I mean, Sophie's my best friend, her sister is one of my best friends also, and they're both like sisters to me. Well, they are my sisters, just not obviously genetically. So we had some really good times together anyway, and I think being with a friend did help my mindset. Because I wasn't eating as I should be, I got really thin around this time, and it was at a hospital appointment where they sort of was trying to find out what was physically wrong with my stomach, so I had to make like food diary and stuff. But obviously they didn't find anything, because it was all in my head, basically. It was a mental illness rather than a physical one. Now, I do have actual problems with my stomach now, but back then I didn't. Basically the consultant at the appointment, because it was like weighing me and stuff, said if I lost any more weight I'd be classed as anorexic, because I was stick thin at this point. Like, you could see all my ribs and everything. So I'm gonna put a picture for you to see. It'll flash up in a minute. It's a bit blurry, not great quality, but it's one of the only pictures I have of this time. I don't think people tended to take pictures of me during that time because what was going on with the family, and also probably because I did look quite thin, and that's not how people used to seeing me. So the emetophobia has calmed down a lot now. It occasionally rears its ugly head, but not as bad. Nowadays, I like have anxiety about everything else. So I'm very hyper focused on any sensations that I get in my body. So most people get a twinge here and there, but for me, I will focus on that all day. So if I have like a pain here, for example, when breathing in, which we all get stuff like that occasionally, at the time of getting it, I'll sort of have extreme thoughts. Like I'll worry, what if I've got blood clot in my lung? And obviously, I still reassurance seek a lot around this. So in terms of the relationship OCD that we talked about last time, I've stopped reassurance seeking in that sense, because that was really unhelpful, and in this sense it is unhelpful, but I've struggled more to stop the reassurance seeking with this, because I think if there is something serious going on, like what if I miss it and I die, and that kind of stuff, which it is a really, unhelpful thought pattern. It definitely gets worse if I've got an event coming up. So even if I'm going to sleep at a friend's for the weekend, I'll focus on things that are happening with my body beforehand. So like, oh, I've got a sore throat. What if I'm getting the flu? Or I've got earache. What if I've got an ear infection? And I have this weird panic about infections. I think the worst. Like, what if I ignore it and I get sepsis? Or again, what if I'm sick? And everything leads back to, what if this makes me sick a lot of the time? So that's kind of hard to deal with, because I want to look forward to things, and say if I've got something planned a month in advance, I look forward to it, but then the week before will just be hell. I'll just be constantly overthinking, and I get in a state where there's no longer any excitement left about going, and it makes me want to back out of plans, because all the what ifs. It was really bad when we went to Tenerife, actually. I think I did Kieran's head in that whole time there, because I was just panicking all the time about being ill and being in an unfamiliar place, like I did obviously when I was a teenager with going to gigs and that kind of stuff. A lot of the time it mainly happens sort of at bedtime, so I have this weird anxiety routine about going to bed. So it's sort of like an OCD thing of everything has to feel perfect. So everything in my body has to feel perfect before I can fully relax and go to sleep. So I have this issue where I go for my nighttime wee like everyone does just before you get into bed. Then I get into bed and think, oh, I need another one. So I'll go again, and I'll keep basically doing that every 5 minutes. But when I'm actually in the bathroom, I'll go, get up, wash my hands, go again, get up, wash my hands, go again. So I go like 3 times in one bathroom trip. And at first I thought there's something wrong with my bladder maybe, but then I realised I don't do this in the day. It's always at night, and it's not a certain time of night. It's just whenever I'm going to sleep, even if it's 8 p.m. in comparison to 3 a.m. And I didn't actually realise till I was looking up some OCD stuff recently that this is sort of an OCD behaviour, and then it dawned on me that, yeah, it definitely is. Even though it feels real, because obviously the sensation of needing to go for a wee is there. Like, I get a weird sensation in my bladder that doesn't go away unless I go for a wee, even if it's the tiniest little bit. And apparently that is linked to the physical sensations that you feel within OCD. So I know that sometimes if I have a shower and don't wash my hair because my hair isn't greasy and it still smells of shampoo, I feel dirty after. Like, my whole body has a sensation like it's dirty because I haven't done the full routine of what I would normally do. So it's this like working towards feeling perfect all the time, which obviously most people don't feel perfect all the time in themselves. But yeah, it's quite frustrating. So that's one thing that I'd like to sort of learn to move on from, especially the sort of anxiety before going anywhere, because I really do want to sort of plan holidays and look forward to them and be excited on the way there, not worrying about my health and all this stuff. But I don't quite know how to deal with that. Obviously there's CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, but I've been to that before, and for some reason it just makes my anxiety worse. Like, I'd find that I was panicking before sessions, worrying about what I was going to say and what if they say something back to me that makes me feel worse, etc, etc. So that's my experience with it. Let me know in the comments if you're going through the same thing. We'll have a chat. Don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the bell. Click the bell. Bye.